Before we get you out of here, I want to do some music. We got
Yeah.
some strange, saddening news at the same time in MF Doom's passing. The fact that it was on Halloween and then announced on New
Yeah.
Year's Eve was strange, but kind of befitting of an artist who was mysterious and elusive and almost mythical in a way in MF Doom. I saw you have a poster back there, a million
Yeah.
records behind you. I'm sure you have some of his records. I got the Madvillainy one over here. But
Classic.
I'm not going to call myself a day one or anything like that because I only just started listening to him in probably 2017, 2018. People put me on to him, and the last 2-3 years I've been listening to him a ton. So, when he passed, it kind of had an extra hit on me because the last 2-3 years I was just listening to all his work for the first time and really becoming familiar with it.
Yeah.
But what's your connection to him? How did you respond to the death on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, the connection was so like I've always been into I grew up in kind of the blog era of rap. So like Two Dope Boys, all hip hop. Um gosh, now there's like none that I use, so like I can't remember them, but like Two Dope Boys specifically, like so they would post like obviously like mainstream stuff, but they would also post like underground stuff. And Two Dope Boys is still around and does great stuff. So if anybody's listening to this and like wants to find new artists to listen to, but you're into like kind of more rapidy rap stuff, like Two Dope Boys is a great website to check out. But yeah, so like I would always be on there and just like looking for new music. And they had I think Madvillainy came out in 2004.
Yep.
So this was probably 2006, which was my first year of high school. Um, that I like came across Madvillainy, and I actually my best friend Sam, who actually works for Rock Nation. He's like Meek Mill's tour manager. Um, he
Funny
he had a
story on
cousin.
that in a second, but keep going.
Okay, yeah, I can't wait. He um he had a cousin who like used to like be able to get like burns. Like he was early on the. He had a cousin that was early on like if people remember LimeWire, and all like the torrent sites that you could get like music legally. So he had a cousin that was good at that. So we would like get CDs, and like me and him had a business in like middle school and high school where we would sell. We'd like people would ask for CDs, like actual albums or like mixed CDs, and we'd burn them and sell them for like $2. But yeah, we came across MF Doom like early in those Stones Throws days, like 2006. Fell in love with it. Like never heard anything like it. I was a huge wrestling fan, so like the mask got me. And then just the way he rhymed and like the beats were like ridiculous. And like we were both big Jay Dilla fans, so it was like part of that ilk too. So yeah, ever since then you go back and listen to the stuff before, and then I just followed ever since. So I was pretty early on it, but that was just kind of a product of being very into music at like 13 and 14, and knowing where to go to find like very obscure hip hop like that. But yeah, also on his death, yeah, it was sad story. Like, so my girlfriend had got me a Christmas gift that had just arrived. It was late, obviously. I'm sure a lot of people got late gifts. And I had just like put it on, tried it on. I was wearing it and like all super excited. And then like I got a text that he passed, and I was just like, didn't really like talk for the
New
rest of
Year's
the day. It was
Eve. I
just
mean, I know
sad.
it was a weird
Yeah.
New Year's Eve and like no one was really doing anything, but you're trying to do something fun or just kind of relax at least that night. And that really bummed you out. Like,
Yeah, same.
yeah, like, and again, it was so fitting of this mysterious, elusive persona that he had over the years to pass away on Halloween and have no one know about for 2 months. I mean, in this age, especially where like anybody could have leaked that out around him. That's just kind
Yeah.
of the life he lived. He was so elusive that no one probably even knew outside of his wife to be able to leak that.
Right. And he's across the pond in London. So the his collaborators stateside probably just were probably used to not getting in touch with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, the elusiveness. Yeah, man, it's sad because to me he's the most creative artist ever in hip hop. Like aside from the mask and the mystique, but like the way he rhymed. I mean, like food is like ridiculous. It's literally everything on the surface sounds like food references, but it's like deeper than that if you like listen or like have the lyrics in front of you. Like it's just the skits he would have leading into songs, the samples, the beats, like no, it was just so raw. Nobody did anything like that. Nobody sounded like him. Everybody that knew about him appreciated him and saw him as one of the best. It's sad because there's like you want your favorite artist to always make music, and now he's not like there's no. I mean, I'm sure there probably might be stuff that comes out that he recorded. I'd imagine he's sitting on a lot of unreleased music, but it's like you always envision your favorite artist to make music forever. So like it's that was tough. Like you're gonna have to live with what you got and make the most of it.
Fairly young too at 49. Like,
Yeah.
Lived the life, but way, way younger than you would want one of your favorite people to pass away there. And he had a tough life. His son passed away in the last few years.
Yep.
Obviously his brother passed away very early in his career, and, went through a ton of challenges in his life, and obviously had a health battle at the end, of course, too. We don't know why he died, but I look at him and you talk about some of the things that made him so great. The technical aspect, and for people who love rap, like the technical aspect is always going to be something that if you bring it on that end, there's going to be awesome respect. And he clearly was the best rhymer ever. Like it's not even close. I was looking through some of his best lyrics ever, and he threw in like a volcano in Iceland as part of like a rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
And like he would just make these diversions. And I think what was so interesting too, you talk about like some of the content of Food. And what stuck out to me about that one too is how like on the surface, it would always be the persona, the villain, almost narrating like his own adventures of this villain, whether it was him or a character that he was playing. But then you would have these short diversions like Deep Fried Friends into some more personal stuff. Or whether he was rapping about his short time in jail, or just like these little moments where he'd reveal a little bit about, Daniel Dumeal rather than MF Doom. But it would just be a flash, and then he'd be right back to the villain. Like he only would let you into a hint of who he was, but enough to like keep you interested and keep you like intrigued by that.
I agree. No, that's a great point. That's the way he tucked things into his rhymes. Aside from like what you said, like he would throw personal tidbits in there, but like even the humor, like he's one of the funniest. His lingo, like some of the words he would use. Yeah, man, like every word seemed strategic, and every word was like, you think he's gonna say this, but then he says, I'm trying to think. There's one in Madvillainy, where it's like clearly the rhyme should have been butter, but it's like, I'd have to now it's gonna bother me, but it's
that
like
makes
he
me
says
think of the one
with something.
that makes me think of the one where
it doesn't rhyme.
Where he puts booze in for where you would expect bitches.
Yeah, that too. Like and it's like it won't rhyme, but it's like you're not going to be able to predict what he's saying.
Yeah.
And like that's genius. Yeah, the butter one's going to bother me. Because it was so like butter would have rhymed perfect, would have made sense.
We'll put it in afterwards. We'll put in the lyrics afterward on the screen here. What was your favorite song by him if you had to pick one?
Oh man. I mean, I love Doomsday on Operation Doomsday.
That's a great one. That was probably top.
I love accordion. I love Rhinestone Cowboy. I love Strange Ways. Absolutely. Off Born Like This. Next Level, King Ghidra, and he doesn't even rap on there, I don't think. It's just a ridiculous beat. Other people rap on it. Phasers of King, like it's just too, man. Like it's I couldn't do a top 10.
There's some really good ones on the Victor Vaughn album too from 2004, and like you think I just realized this the other day. He released Madvillainy, Food, and the Victor Vaughn album all in the same year in 2004. I mean, there's never been a year like that for an artist in hip hop history.
No, because I think, again, it always goes back to people that know. To those people who were checking for it and were familiar, like those are three classics. And like to drop 3 classics in one year. Like I think like DMX like probably did 2 in one year. There's a couple artists who did like 2 in one year, but like on that level that like shook up what people knew as like the underground, like that was unfathomable. And to I mean, Madvillainy was, I think, the like it's always the one that people are familiar with go to, but I try to bring in other stuff like Victor Vaughn, but I think with Madvillainy, that's like the epitome of like an underground rap classic. Like it's the most obscure thing. It's short, the beats are wild, the rhymes are wild, but it's like so perfect, and it's like the epitome of obscurity. Like if anybody asks what does obscure mean, it's a picture of his shadowy face on the Madvillainy cover.
And you'll never have an artist like him again. It's just impossible the way the industry works now, the way social media has taken over a lot of, the driving force of music. Like you can't be that obscure and make it now, especially with all the artists that you're competing with for attention. And like there'll never be another MF Doom. There just can't be.
No, there can't be, because when you do it, everybody knows who you're copying off. Like he was the first. He did it so well that there can't be another.
I will say, and I love, we're going to wrap this up here, but I love that you kind of bring that perspective of someone who growing up on that. I obviously didn't get to do that, but Freddie Gibbs and Madlib kind of carrying the torch of Madvillainy is something that feels similar. Not quite the same, but inspired by
close.
And carries that torch. So I'm going to keep following that. Look for the 3rd edition of that trio. And you probably would have. Did you ever think there would be a Madvillainy follow-up? When you think about like, oh, could there have been more music? Did you expect there to be a Madvillainy follow-up at some point?
So like I'm a super like nerd with that stuff, and like I found, like I think Madlib has admitted that it's been done for years.
Wow.
They just couldn't agree on like when it would come out. I always held out hope that we would get a Madlib, Freddie Gibbs, MF Doom album at some point. I always held out hope that those 3 would get together and just do it. And like I know Freddie and Madlib did an interview, and Freddie was like teasing Doom. He's like, he can't rap better than me. He's like, oh, he just talking mad shit. And I was like, I wonder if they would ever do it. And maybe they did it, and it's in the tuck, and nobody's talked about it. But yeah, man, that's one that as a massive fan of both, I love Freddie and I love Doom, and I love Madlib. But I always held out hope that we would get that one, a mush of a Freddie and Doom on Madlib beats would be. That would change things. Yeah,
I'm checking now. Everyone had done a tribute for MF Doom at this point who had some sort of connection to him, but still, I haven't seen anything from Madlib. And he's another guy who's kind of elusive. He'll do it in some way when the time is right and in his own, personal way. Tribute.
Yeah.
But he is James Edwards III. You can follow all his Pistons action at theathletic.com. Go get a subscription.